I want to start out by making a correction regarding what I said earlier. It's 10-point font times 120%. So it's the size of the typeface times 120%, which equals the auto leading. And that is 12 points in this case. 10 times 120% is 12. So I just want to make that correction because it wasn't 10 times 120, otherwise my math would be really off. So, and then you can adjust, so that's called auto letting. And then if you want to do what's called absolute letting is when you set it to something specific. And so if I set the letting, for example, to 24, and I'm going to just copy my sentence a couple times to create a paragraph's worth of text to play with. You can see that the leading is very airy. For some fonts, you might need this type of extra space. For example, if you were to use a font like Zapfino, I think. Zapfino, yes. Okay, because a lot of the descending letters, like the G and the P, and the ascenders as well, the H, they extend way up beyond their actual height. So it says, even though it says 10 point, when you include the G and the P and the H, it's actually covering a lot more territory than just 10 points worth. So you would need to adjust the leading accordingly to make these longer ascender and descender letters fit comfortably. And not, you might have situations like this where they're intersecting, and it's up to your discretion to kind of adjust it more, or if you like the intersections and you think that it adds something, then you could leave it as well. The opposite situation is if you had a font like maybe Times New Roman. We switch to Times New Roman. Oh, and I wanted to point out before I say that, when you have a larger leading, whoops, Control Z. When you have a leading that is greater than your font size, your font point size, it's called positive leading. So the leading is greater than. Now, if you have a leading that's less than, let me take this down to 10 points. This is called negative leading. And obviously for Zapfino, this does not look good. This is very hard to read. However, with some fonts, I'm going to show you with Times New Roman. Times New Roman. Okay, actually it's equal then. Right now, because it's 10-10, it's called set solid. So it's 10 over 10. But let's see, with Times New Roman, 10 over 10 is not so bad. It still looks really tight. But I think for newspapers, they might do set solid in a lot of cases because they're trying to cram as much information into a column as they can. Maybe not for an article, but maybe just for a little snippet on the side or a caption, they would do set solid. Now the other, let's see, the other option is where you have less leading, and you might do that when you're using for a headline. Let's see, I was going to take a display font to do a headline. Let's see, new, let's type. There's another way to look at your fonts. If you don't, one way to scroll through them is looking through here. You can also go to your menu and look for fonts this way as well. So I'm just looking for a display font. Something that I wouldn't want to use in a paragraph, but makes for an interesting, obviously this is braggadocio, I don't even know how to say it, braggadocio. But yeah, it looks terrible in a paragraph. However, if I was just going to do learning about typography, delete